Guys, now today I want to get into why expats leave the Philippines. I've been through some of these myself, but it takes patience to be here. Let's get into it. I'm leaving the Philippines. Now, what does it for people, what makes them want to just give it all up and not be in the Philippines anymore, of course, it's the lack of infrastructure. I've been to places like Thailand, and you know, the infrastructure is a lot better. And if you compare the Philippines to those countries and say, you know, it's like this here, or it's like this back home where I'm from in the US, you're not really giving it a fair chance. Doing that, you're going to end up hating the Philippines because the infrastructure is just not up to par. I mean, you have to live in places that are a little more advanced. Like you'll find them more in Manila or in Cebu, certain provinces like that, certain areas like that. But just for the most part, the Philippines is not going to have the infrastructure of the US. It's not going to have the infrastructure of a Thailand. Hospitals are not going to be up to par in certain places. And there's going to be many different things that's going to set you off about the Philippines. So lack of infrastructure is a reason. And I don't think it should be a big reason, but it is. Another thing that does it for people is romance situations. Now, a lot of times, there's so many guys that come to the Philippines and they get caught up in a bad romance.
Oh my God, you're so real. You're so beautiful.
And what happens is, you know, you meet someone online, like they love the person, and you barely know the person. You know, you really get to know them when you first come here in the Philippines. So you get out here in the Philippines, and then the situation is nothing like you thought it would be. You know, you meet a person for the first time, you bump into a lady that maybe saved face and lied to you. And a saving face situation where a Filipino lies, they usually lie about their past love situations in the past, with who they've been with, or what they've done, or certain things to make themselves seem a certain way. And it can happen. It happens to guys all the time. And then guys say, you know what, I don't like the Philippines. Or they'll have one situation, bump into another, be with another person, and then fall in love again and out of love again. Happens to guys. I see foreigners come over here, fall in love with 2-3 girls, then decide they hate the Philippines, they hate all Filipinas. I don't think it's a good reason to feel like that, but it does happen. Also, situations happen where guys, people just don't like the Philippines at all. I mean, the Philippines isn't for everybody. It's all good from the outside, but people get here, then realize it's not all sunshine and roses. You know, when you're in the Philippines, you'll start to realize certain things don't operate the same as it does in your home country. You know, certain processes are slower. Like for instance, you go to the bank, you may end up in the bank for an hour or two, and service at all in a whole is just definitely not the same as where you may be from. And I've shown videos about this in the past to give an idea of what really happens when you're here. And I can deal with it, but the fact of the matter is some people can't, and some people just don't want to get used to it. You know, some people just have it up to here and say, you know what, I can't stay in the Philippines. Or there's some guys or some girls that come to the Philippines and say, you know, I only can stay in the Philippines for vacation. I only can stay in the Philippines for a couple of months, because if I stay longer, they're just not for me. So you have those people that don't like it, and also the people that just can't stay long term. Also, what happens when you move to the Philippines, and I know this because that happened with me as well. I came out here, I married a Filipina, and what happens is you marry the entire family.
Sige, ready?
Okay, look at the groom and then smile, guys. Jay, look at them.
Some people just don't like that. When I first came out to the Philippines, I loved it. I loved that it was a togetherness. I've seen that as well in the States, but the way that they're so tight knit is just different in the Philippines, and I love it. Now, when I married my wife, situation wasn't where I had to take care of the whole family. All of them were in Manila. All of them had full-time jobs. All of them were either working or going to school. So it wasn't a situation where you have to take care of the mother, the father, the uncle. You know, I'm not saying everyone does that, but there are situations where some expats come here and they end up taking on the whole family. They end up taking on other people's bills, and it can be a serious headache for you guys. I say getting into a situation like that it's scary in itself, and that would turn anybody away from the Philippines. But yeah, seriously, guys, don't let yourself get in situations like that. You can say no. You don't have to take care of everyone, and I advise that you don't, because then you'll start to really, really dislike the person if that continues over a long point of time. And really, you just don't want to take on that burden, and it really is a burden to some people. You marry the entire family, but don't take care of the entire family. Also, people leave because the medical is not up to par. Now, a lot of times this is what happens to guys. They come out to the Philippines, you know, they go into the province, and they may have a serious situation. I feel if you're going to the Philippines, don't go to the province, especially if you have a medical situation. But still, all in all, you really would need to be in Manila, or maybe Cebu, or maybe even Davao, that has the top-notch medical service. Like for me, for instance, when I bumped into my own situation in the Philippines, I went to the medical city. I went to another location before that and didn't get the care needed. I didn't get the test needed. So therefore, they let me go out of the hospital, and I was still having the same situation. When I finally went to the medical city, they ran more tests. They did certain things to, they actually wanted me to stay there. I didn't stay for the night, but they wanted me to stay, and I appreciated that. You know, they wanted to make sure I got all the proper care. They wanted to monitor me. And in a certain situation, say if you're in a province, that won't be the case. You won't have someone that has even the technology, not the technology, but the equipment to monitor you. They can't run the same test. It's a lot different. You would need to be in a Manila or a Cebu or Davao at that point. And that can make people want to leave, because a lot of times you won't get the medical care you need if you're not in the right area. And a lot of times people don't want to be stuck in Manila or stuck in Cebu. I mean, why did you come to the Philippines for? So that puts a sour taste in people's mouth, and they jump up and decide to leave the Philippines. So guys, I just want to go through a couple of those really quickly, just to share what I noticed why expats leave the Philippines. And I say, if you come to the Philippines, of course, don't expect it to be sunshine and roses. Don't expect it to be just a dreamland. A lot of times, you guys, you see videos. I've even made videos on how I love the Philippines, but it takes time, guys. You won't just come out here and everything just goes your way. You're gonna have problems. You know, I've talked about problems that I've had, not to complain so much, but just to tell you guys, hey, look, this can happen, and you have to take the good with the bad. I love showing at the foreigners, and you really do, because when you come to the Philippines, just so if you didn't know, you know now. Things will not work how you want it to go, so you have to roll with the punches, take the good with the bad. Then from there, you'll start to learn to love the Philippines. Yeah, guys, so that's some of the things, that's some of the reasons why expats leave the Philippines. Now, a lot of you guys already know about a lot of these things, but I wanted to point a lot of these things out for a lot of you guys that are new coming into the Philippines. You're gonna realize, wait a minute, there is problems here. Now, the way the Philippines is painted in vlogs, it seems like the best thing ever. You have guys coming here and they say, oh, wow, I couldn't believe the Philippines was like this. And it pissed this picture of your head that there's no problems here, but that's just simply not the fact. Of course, I love the Philippines. I know Filipinos want you to love the Philippines, so they want you to see, as a Filipino with Filipino pride, they want you to see the goodness about the Philippines. They love when the vloggers come and say, wow, I can't believe this place. But in all actuality, there are many problems here. There are things that you have to face. So I went through some of them, and it happens. You know, some guys just don't have the patience for the Philippines.
I wanna go home.
It does take patience to live here. So the thing is, if you come to the Philippines and you're patient, and I say this, it takes at least 5 years to be in the Philippines, for 3 to 5 years to realize, wow, I can deal with this, I can stay. Because that's what it is. You have to realize that you can deal with all of this and that you can stay. And for some guys, it can happen in a year. Some guys, it may take 3 to 5. But by then, you know it's for you, and then you'll continue to live and be happy. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. See you next one. Peace.